Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Ad Podcast. We've got an exciting guest for you guys this morning. Remco Westermann is a prominent Dutch tech entrepreneur, mergers and acquisitions expert, and the founder and CEO of Verve Group SE, formerly known as Media and Games Invest, MGI. With over 35 years of professional business strategy experience, including over 2 decades operating at the vanguard of mobile gaming and online entertainment sectors, Remco is widely recognized for his masterful buy and build playbook. He initially shook up the European tech ecosystem by acquiring the distressed German gaming giant Gamigo AG from Axel Springer, executing over 35 programmatic advertising and gaming acquisitions to scale the asset into a vertically integrated, highly profitable global full-stack ad software platform. A former strategy consultant, restructuring specialist, and founder of Bob Mobile AG, Remco has successfully navigated Verve through major digital milestones, positioning it as an industry leader for in-app and connected TV across North America and Europe. Remco, welcome to the show, sir.
Great, Dylan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So I know I gave a little bit of a bio there, but maybe you can contextualize it for us a little bit. So where'd you grow up? What'd you study? And what got you into the ad tech marketing media ecosystem?
Wow. Let me start at the beginning then. Born in Holland, kindergarten in Germany, high school in Holland, finished high school in Germany, then studied in Holland, and then I moved 26 years ago to Germany. So living in Germany now. So I've always been between the two countries. I've lived, in between, I lived half a year in San Francisco. So I've been a lot in the US also. At the moment, I'm half my time in the US. And and all kind of, it's for me about building stuff. I'm not good for. I really like to take strategic opportunities, build companies. And adtech is a good market for that. I mean, it's disrupting itself every 2 years, and it's giving huge opportunities.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I love it. And I started this company. Yeah, you said Gamigo. I bought it from Axel Springer 13 years ago. The first years we were only doing a gaming roll-up. Then we decided to not sell it to private equity, but rather list it ourselves. As a listed company, you need to show organic growth. And as I was always fed up with the inefficiencies of the advertising, we decided to pivot to advertising, which we started 6 years ago by buying 15 adtech companies, including Verve Wireless that you mentioned in our pre-talk, Smarto, PubNative, Liquid from Nexstar. So we really bought, the stack together because we're a strong believer in verticalization, as little middleman as possible. So work directly for the advertiser and the agency on the one side with a DSP, and work directly for the publisher with an SSP, connect them, and you have the least of waste in this market. Then let's say we focus on in-app because that's the most personal device that there is. You get the biggest deep, etc. But we are also able to do all the other channels, the digital channels, because you need to be able to accompany a person on its daily journey in the morning, in the evening, your CTV, whatever. So that's important. And for the rest, data and AI, and that's about the recipe that we were going for. So we acquired companies in those spaces, grown together, and showing nice growth in the last years, or actually over the whole kind of journey.
I love it. The publisher world is under, definitely a lot of headwinds. Less people visiting websites, more people spending time inside of walled gardens. But it seems like the consumer's appetite to download apps and have apps on their phones, whether it's for utility, productivity, gaming, entertainment. I've got so many apps on my phone that I've ran out of pages. I'd be curious, where do you see is the growth opportunity, do you think, in-app versus, kind of traditional publisher business models?
Yeah, I think we see a big shift also there, disruption. LLMs, of course, are stirring up the market big time. You see search under pressure, so search is moving to LLMs, and what we see is basically what are safe havens. In-app is a safe haven because it's deeper content, closer to the consumer, etc. It's not necessarily something that you do per se via an LLM. And on the other hand, of course, the video channels, social channels, things like that are also doing pretty well. But there's a shift in the market. Publishers are under pressure. Traditional, more web-focused publishers have 30%, 40% fewer web views than they had 2 years ago. So things are moving, and I personally like it always when things are moving because it gives opportunity instead of things. But no, we are helping publishers to let's say also get their property seen, because search is not working as it used before, and even on a search page, it's often the answer is already given. So they don't link people to the publisher anymore. So we are helping publishers to get more views on the domains, but we are also of course helping publishers to sell their ads. But publisher is as good as an advertiser as any other advertiser does.
Interesting. So you guys are not just doing demand side and helping publishers monetize, but you're also serving as a audience development or audience extension capability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there arbitrage opportunities still in publishing where you can acquire traffic for lower costs and send it to a publisher, or are those opportunities harder to find these days?
Yeah, there is a lot of arbitrage possible, but I think it's more about quality now than about necessary arbitrage. There is still, I mean, when we moved into advertising, we said it needs to be quality advertising. You need to really deliver quality. There were so many affiliate networks where it looked nice, but in the end you got not what you wanted as a traffic. So it's about quality, and that's super important. And there's a value gap between the walled gardens, the Googles, etc., and the open internet. If you see for an hour, a user hour, the ad spend is 7 cents in the open internet. It's 14 cents on walled gardens. So there is absolutely also an arbitrage gap there. But I think it's first of all, being an open market player, it's about collecting enough scale, because you need scale to really be a partner of the larger advertiser or the larger agencies. The second one is really to be verticalized so that you don't have wastage in there, that you have transparency. So don't have, 5, 6, or even 2 platforms between the advertiser and the publisher, because it's just waste. And then make sure that you're good at data, good in AI, and good in measuring outcomes. And that's something we're working actively on at the moment. How can we get closed loops? There's a lot of measuring in this market is broken.
Interesting. You talked about the middlemen having, 1 to 5 players, between an ad impression and ultimately the advertiser that wants to buy that piece of attention. Not only does that create pricing inefficiencies, but it also creates, ad tech bloat, and it creates a poor user experience. It creates, pages that load slowly, or ad opportunities that get missed because the consumer is moving so fast. How do you think technology might be able to help solve for the middleman problem, but also create a better advertising user experience for the end consumer?
Yeah, it's all about technology. I mean, in the end, between the moment you open an app or you scroll to another page, whatever, there's an ad, and we have 100 milliseconds to fill that. That's you cannot do that manually. So it's all machine driven. What is low latency, high numbers, AI, I'd say, enabled. The better your AI, the better you do the matching, the less waste there is, and the more happy everybody is. In that sense, technology always was super important already for adtech. Where I see the big difference now is more towards the advertiser side, where advertisers used to take, for example, to build a good media plan, 1.5, 2 days, a lot of hours at least that's going in there. Now, we just demoed it yesterday on our Capital Markets Day. You can build a solid media plan now in less than 10 minutes.
Wow.
And feedback rounds and things like that. So with the LLM technologies basically that are available now, we have, as a company, you have much easier access to the technology. You don't need as expensive talent anymore as before, and on the LLM side at least, or the AI side, and you can really build cool tools. And I think that's going to put the traditional players on the demand side a bit under pressure, especially the traditional DSPs, because you can tailor so much more now towards the demands of an advertiser or the agency. So there's where I see things changing because of technology changes. Neural network technology is something that we're actively engaging with. That's let's say not LLM, but that's to help us more and better target in the platform. And on the publisher side, I think there's also opportunities, but it's most of all at the moment helping publishers to generate more views and to make sure that they are not getting under pressure.
Love it. You've acquired over 15 different ad tech companies during your most recent evolution of roll-ups. What do you look for in a buy opportunity, and are you integrating those how do you integrate the capabilities of a stack of 15 different types of companies? What does the integration process look like when you've identified a target and successfully completed an acquisition? Are you keeping parts of it, turning parts of it off because there's redundancies? Are you mainly acquiring the talent and the revenue? Tell me a little bit about the M&A process.
Dylan, you're touching one of the, the holy grails of us. What's important, it changes over time, I would say. When we started adtech, we just needed to build critical mass and the technology stack. So what we did was really buying companies that fit in there. We bought 5 SSPs, for example, but the one was an in-app SSP, the other one was an CTV SSP, etc. So by buying the skills, another one was also an in-app SSP, but they were more onto performance marketing. So things like that. So that was a criteria in the beginning. So we acquired, after we decided to go into adtech 6 years ago, a bit over 6 years ago, we acquired 15 companies that were basically doing this whole vertical multi-channel data and AI thing. If you do M&A, it's never 100% fit, of course. So you always have some stuff that is obsolete or some things that fit better than others. You need to integrate. So we integrated the 5 SSPs into 2, and those 2 we integrated last year into 1. So you need to do it also step by step. But the technical integration is a nice challenge, but you don't want to end up with several stacks. We see now the big advantage of having a single stack, because now all your developers work on that. They can all work on innovation, new stuff on the stack. Technology is, I would say, one of the most complex things, but the most dangerous part is personnel, of course, because personnel has cultures. And if you buy a company where the culture doesn't fit, you can also break your whole company with that. We have seen some examples in the market, not wanting to give names now, but where really 2 companies got together and were more or less, killing each other internally. And it's so that was important for us as criteria to buy companies where we think or thought at that time that the cultural fit was there. And for the rest, accretion, of course, it needs to be financially a good deal. There need to be synergies in it, things like that. So that is kind of the 3 criteria. So we bought 15 companies within 2.5 years after taking the decision. Then we didn't do any acquisition for over 2 years to just really start integrating those companies. And then because we didn't buy as much on the demand side as we did on the supply side, so we wanted more reach towards advertisers, more salespeople, basically. We acquired June Group 2 years ago, I think it is. And a year ago, we acquired Captify, for example. So with that, getting more skill. So basically the main work is done now. We have an adtech platform at scale. It's integrated. And now M&A is not so important anymore. It's more about organic growth now. And on the other hand, if you would ask me about it, I think everybody in this market is too small, with a few exceptions. We're talking about a 70 billion TAM in mobile in-app alone.
Wow.
And if you over 500 companies being active in this space, not all in mobile, sorry, I talk a bit about larger market, but there's just too many parties. We need to consolidate this market. And I would expect that some larger mergers would happen, or at least should happen in this market.
So still some opportunities on the M&A side, mainly just around consolidation of a disparate market where there's always 10 times as many suppliers that are willing to meet the demands of the media agencies.
Yeah, but the market is moving towards quality also. It was easy to start and startup in this market. No entry barriers. You just had a few customers. But with the investments you need to do nowadays in technology, so in AI mostly, with the data set that you need to be really competitive with walled gardens, there is no space for so many parties. People don't have the money to invest in it, things like that. So on the one hand, I expect a dropout on the smaller company side. A lot of those parties shouldn't be there anymore, or it don't make sense to be there anymore. And on the larger side, it would make sense to get some companies together to just have even more skill and to be able to serve a large budget.
Yeah,
it was an eye-opening event I had with, let's say, one of the MDs of Big Holdco in US. He said, I have $6 billion that I need to deploy every year. Then I go to Google, they take 2.5. I go to Facebook or Amita, and they take $1 billion or $1.5 billion. I don't remember exactly. And then I have to work with all those new and small parties like yourself. That's 4 years ago, so we have grown a lot since then. But that's for me one of the big learnings in this market. You need to have scale to be really a partner for the agencies and the advertisers. And that's something that we accomplished, and now we're really working on further improving technology, data sets. We invest a lot in our data set. So that's, the ingredients are there. Now it's more time for organic growth than for M&A.
That's interesting. Yeah, you mentioned, a lot of people think that AI is creating a lower barrier to start, new companies, and I imagine in some instances that's true. But just like all of the big players are building these massive data centers around the country and around the world, and thinking about nuclear power and all the things that go into it, really for somebody to compete in the open web against the walled gardens, you have to have similar infrastructure around data and compute and deal with all the same issues that these larger LLM companies are dealing with, as far as needing more compute, more data centers in order to have the right data to action against for the holdcos that need that kind of scale.
Yeah, that's one. And the second is you need the relations. And if you go out to a publisher and the publisher saying, hey, I'm already working with 5 SSPs, for example, why should I take you? And if you don't have the scale, if you don't have the demand side, and on the demand side the same, we are integrated in over 65,000 apps, that's not easy to build. So even if you can build the technology easily with AI, which is easier said than done, to build on both sides, the demand side and the supply side, so the publisher side and the advertiser side, is not so easy. And the most difficult one is building the data sets. Having really data at scale is the only way that you are successful in this market. Data at scale together with good AI, then you can really get targeting results that make sense. Else it's just shooting blind.
Yeah. So Remco, since 2019, you poured tens of millions of euros into building ID-less tracking solutions like Atom and Moments.ai. Now that Apple has restricted IDFA and Google has moved ahead with cookie depreciation, why did your early, highly contrarian bet on privacy-first tracking give Verve an enormous competitive head start?
Yeah, good point. We saw it coming early. Let's say being European-based, we saw GDPR and let's say restrictions there. We saw also consumers being more afraid of basically getting, getting tracked. At that time, actually, then Google also announced that they would deprecate the cookie, which in the end they didn't. In the end, it's the same story as always in adtech. It became just more complex. You have ID-less part of the market, you have an ID-based part of the market, and you need to work with both. A lot of advertisers still work only with the ID-based part. I think they're missing out, first of all, because cookies are often polluted. There can be wrong information in there. If somebody has a car, it doesn't say that he wants to buy a car now, so you waste 3 years of time with advertising this person, and only in 3 years he buys a car. So cookies is not the best of everything. ID-less is a very good way of going into, but there's different ways of doing ID-less, from simple contextual to more complex, like with Atom. We have come to the conclusion that we need all those things, and we're combining them. So we're really using all the signals that we have. We're starting basically from contextual, and then enrich it also with where we have IDs or where we have external data, point of sale data. Did the product was it sold in this store, for example? So we're really combining those data, and that's giving by far the best results. And what we brought in last year with Captify was search intent data. What are people searching for? Very relevant, of course, because then you can advertise based on that. And we have, after that, now also done deals with LLMs, where we get even richer search data, because you get search conversations, basically. I'm looking for a car. What kind of car? Yeah, for 4 persons, and those kind of things. So you get even more precise. And that's about advertising that's about wasting money. A lot of money is wasted in this market. If you advertise a new car to somebody who's going to buy it in 3 years, it might have a branding effect, but you're wasting a lot of your money, basically. But if I know that somebody's looking for a car now, then I should advertise the car. And
it's high intent.
Yeah, it's really intent-based. The market is moving to intent, away from static cookies. away from only context. And you need intent, but you need to have the right settings of it. So that's what we're doing, and we've really invested a lot in our data play. And I think by that, build a good position there and seeing extremely good results.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned, the integration with LLMs on getting richer search intent data because it's conversation streams. It's not just searches, especially with, some of the publisher traffic issues that we talked about at the top of the show, where 60% of searches now no longer, result in a click. We saw famously that ChatGPT or OpenAI was kind of the first to release ads natively inside of their platform of the major LLMs. But what do those deals look like, to the degree that you can talk about them? And then is it harder now because, agentic search hasn't really, there isn't a defined winner like Google. People are going to Grok, people are going to Meta, people are going to ChatGPT. People are more transient, I think, versus brand loyalist in their AEO searches, depending on what hardware they're using, what device they're using. It's not uncommon for me to like pop on an LM and it crashes. Then I'm like, okay, I'm going to jump onto something else. Or you just want to see different results and how they're all progressing. So I'd be curious, what are those like data deals, or what do those opportunities look like?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's also here, adtech is becoming more complex because there's so many LLMs, and we talk about the big ones now, but there's a lot of specialist LLMs coming up for travel search, for whatever, people that really work on more smaller sets of data. We try to work with all of them, so we are not, limited. If you also offer ad serving like OpenAI, we also want to be able to serve ads in them. So that's also things we work on. The commercial deals that we do are pretty different per party. It's of course very important that it's privacy compliant, that it's opt-in based, things like that. And the exact terms I wouldn't give here. We are really an innovator in this. We're one of the first ones who was able to do this. At least I think we are the first one who actually did it at this scale. So I'm not going to help our competitors.
Of course. Let's talk a little bit about the distressed asset playbook. So you built the bedrock of your empire by taking a bold risk. You acquired the distressed German gaming firm Gamigo AG from Axel Springer. When you look at a distressed or struggling digital media property, what's the operational litmus test that you use to determine if it can be salvaged and integrated, or if it could end up a value trap?
Can be very different. It needs to be, as mentioned before, it needs to be accretive. If it's not accretive to what we have already, it's not even worth the time looking at it. Then it's about, is there some unique technology? Is there some patent? Is there some unique talent? Also very important. That makes sense. But we are at we are at the stage now where we are generating very good cash flow. And it's often about cash in life. So we did a lot of distressed in the beginning because we didn't have the financial means to buy the big ones. That has changed. So if you look at our later acquisitions, they were all profitable acquisitions or profitable companies, which were, yes, we optimized them, and you don't need an MD on everything, etc. But it was not distressed. But there might be an opportunity again. I mean, there is some companies that are really struggling in this market. And in the end, we further want to build scale. But as mentioned before, focus is really on organic, and doing M&A is also quite, disrupting, disturbing. So rather no M&A at the moment, but if there is the unique opportunity, of course, we're, smart enough to grab that then.
You're opportunistic. You guys have also stood out because you combine both ad demand software and the owned and operated games portfolio supply. Why is controlling both the content creation side, the gaming, and the monetization infrastructure a shield against the shifting margins of the ad industry?
Yeah, we see that walled gardens have done extremely well in this market. Google, Amazon, etc. We sometimes forgetting that they're competitors, but they are competitors. I mean, open market is not fully isolated. So having access to certain unique supply, having access to, large base of supply is important. Though similar to what AppLovin went through, they also have their own games. By scaling our adtech business, the games have become less important for it. I mean, they were really good in the beginning to get a certain start things. We have now so many publishers that we're integrated with. We have such a big supply base that it's not as big, as important as it used to be in the beginning. But still, having direct quality supply and mostly having an SDK, software development kit integrated in apps, which gives us the possibility to do different ad formats, which gives us much deeper data than just having a simple connection there. Those things are super important. So working closely with publishers and making sure that we go from there.
You've spoken a lot about how the modern consumer is deeply annoyed by irrelevant, repetitive digital ads. You go to a website, and even when you sign up as a customer for a particular type of service, then those ads follow you around the internet even after you've already converted. You talked a little bit about how contextual, privacy safe, AI driven ad targeting allows you to reach a user with hyper relevant messaging without invading their personal data footprint. But more importantly, doing it in a way that feels native to their user experience. What are some of the innovations that you're seeing there where, ads can be extremely contextually relevant to not only who you are as a consumer, but what you're intending to try and buy in the marketplace at that given time, but they feel less, creepy, so to speak?
I think especially publishers at the moment are getting more aware that it's super important what ads they show. Because if they show crappy ads, or if they show ads where people move away from their content to somewhere else, that's not really helpful in a world where they're anyway already under pressure. So that's where we see our role to really support publishers on making sure that there's a quality of ads there, that we really help them with that. And by having better data, you annoy users, of course, a lot less. If we know that somebody is looking for, to go back to this car example, for a car now, you're happy to see some examples of cars with 4 seats, for example, like the example before. If you are getting annoyed all the time, get a car ad and you're not looking for it, it's more annoying. So those kind of things. So it's still, again, or it's going back to the same topic, it's data, and making sure that you use them in the right way towards the consumer.
So you've captured a big chunk of mobile in-app advertising in North America, and you guys are aggressively scaling into connected TV with dynamic pod bidding. As linear television has fallen off the majority of market buying down to 49% this year for the first time in history, how must a brand's creative asset strategy change when they're moving from a screen that's this big to 65 inches in the living room?
Yeah, it's about time that linear is falling off its throne, actually, because it doesn't make any sense. Why should I send one ad to everybody if I can send an ad at a household level and target it much more precise? So that's a waste of money, it's a historic thing. But marketing departments and ad agencies are pretty slow in changing, or very often. So I'm super happy that that's changing finally. Yeah, also here it's about reaching the right consumer, supporting there, getting the we serve all channels, so also CTV. CTV often has a disadvantage that you don't always have the data. And CTV, there's also, let's say, big screens ask for, and that was the point that you were making, is asking for different creative than a small screen. But it's in the end the combination that makes it. If somebody's on the road or in the subway, he has only his mobile with him. If he's at home or she's at home, you have a big screen, and you use them all in the best way.
I've read a story about a humorous story that you talked about in other interviews of your very first day at a corporate job. You stepped into an elevator, forced an enthusiastic handshake on the other person inside, asked them what they did, and the gentleman replied, "I'm the CEO." How did that early lesson in corporate hierarchies and the idea of putting yourself out there, being approachable and transparent, how has that kept in line with your own leadership style as a CEO?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Thanks for reminding me on that one. No, I think for myself also, yes, we've built a great company here, but it's about being accessible. It's being walking to the desk and asking people what they're doing. It's really a lot of it in a company's culture, and you don't create culture by distance. If I would be let's say, having an assistant sitting in front of my door and blocking everybody to get in, that would be, in my view, not the way to run a company in this space. But adtech is different. Adtech is super dynamic. You need the best people. You need to really make sure that people are extremely engaged. And as you're part of a team, you're not just the MD. I mean, I try to hire people that are better than I am. And yeah, everybody is welcome in the company as long as they help us go forward.
I love it. We talked a little bit about the rebranding the parent company from Media Games Investment to Verve Group to reflect a united data-driven identity. For other founders who are listening that are managing fragmented sub-brands, an M&A portfolio, when do you know it's time to kill off a legacy corporate brand in favor of a single unified brand story? And what appealed to you about the Verve identity that made you decide that all the acquisitions that was the one you guys would go with?
Let me start with the last part of your question, because it's a good question. It's super difficult to get a globally accepted media brand registered. We had all kind of ideas, but unless you really have a brand already that has been registered like 10, 15 years ago, you will run into all kind of conflicts. So basically, why did we choose Verve? Because it's a cool name, but also registered everywhere. The other point is, and still we had an issue because when we bought it, it was a distressed company, so some people still wanted their money from it, all the kind of so it's not all perfect, but it's a great name. It's working well. It's recognizable. It's simple. It's short. And we have the .com domain, so all those kind of things. Then the second is, I think, running with several brands is just a waste of money. You want to have a single brand. Of course, you need to deliver quality. If you don't deliver quality, it can hurt your brand. But if you are able to deliver quality, run with a single brand. It's so much more efficient from a marketing point of view, and it unites people. On the other hand, running an M&A model, if you buy a company and immediately on day one say, hey, your brand is now XYZ or it's changed, that gives a bit of, I don't know, extra friction that you don't want. So also rebranding processes just take a bit of time. You just don't, I mean, what we typically do is if you buy a company, we put a Powered by Verve under it, under their original brand, and we start rebranding them after a while. But in the end, the target should be, and is, to just get a single brand.
Your overarching company mission is quite simple, make media better. If you look down the road over the next 5 years, what do you think is the single biggest opportunity in the global programmatic supply chain that you're most determined to take advantage of?
Closing the gap between the open internet, but respectively our company and the walled gardens. The walled gardens are grading their own homework. They're charging a lot of money, but they are easy to spend your money with. And with what we have built here, scale, data, AI, measuring outcomes, we are at least as good, and that's what we really going for. So really being accepted as one of the large players next to the walled gardens.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, it's always funny when one of these walled gardens puts out a report to the street and they're like, well, you know, profits are up 22%, but demand is only up 8%. And, you know, we're building nuclear power plants and we're investing in the metaverse and we're getting into the hardware business. You know, it seems that as, you know, we talked about linear TV finally maybe being put out to pasture and digital now, you know, being the primary buy on a media plan. It seems that, you know, what happened to television CPMs might be happening in our industry too. So I think you're right. There's probably some inefficiency in only thinking about the walled gardens as, you know, where audiences are. That leaves, you know, a lot of efficiencies on the table.
Yeah, but that's not the blame of the walled gardens. It's the blame of our open internet sector because we're just too fragmented.
Yeah,
it's fragmented. I mean, if an advertiser or an agency wants to work with the open internet 2 years ago, I'll say, or 3 years ago, you had to work with somebody else for CTV, somebody for in-app, somebody for web, all the things. You would need to work with a ton of parties. If you go to Walled Garden, you can basically work with one. And I think that's what is changing now, and that's also our philosophy. Mobile first, but be able to serve all the channels.
I love it.
Cool.
Well, Remco, great to be able to spend a little bit of time with you today and learn more about Verve and what you're doing with this great legacy brand that used to be in my backyard here in San Diego. So I'll be excited to continue to follow along with your story and see how you guys do. If folks want to connect with you directly or keep up with your thought leadership or learn more about Verve, where would you like to send the audience to tune in?
LinkedIn is the easiest one to do. And also
Perfect.
on our website, of course, there's also all the contacts. So
Okay.
no, very appreciated. Great to do this interview. Great for the opportunity. Thanks for the opportunity. And greetings to San Diego.
My pleasure. Thank you, sir. And for everybody at home, if this is the first time you're seeing the show, don't forget to give us a follow or a subscribe. If you are listening, an honest review on whatever podcast platform you might be listening on is how we find a larger audience. So don't forget to go ahead and do that. And if there's maybe somebody out there in agency land who's trying to figure out their unified strategy and the open web and kind of being able to advertise in all these places that I talked to Remco today, or maybe somebody in the ad tech space, or maybe just someone who you think would benefit from my conversation with Remco, don't forget to share the show. And with that, I will wish you a great day. Thank you for coming on, sir. Ciao.